Good evening. I'm Abyss Whispers. Shadow of the Erdtree brought us some magnificent armor sets and new weapons, so it's about time for another Elden Bling installment. I'll be going through a bunch of character concepts and reading their item descriptions. I hope you guys enjoy and sleep well. Putrescent Gravebird. She honors the ancient practices of death birds and their kindred grave birds by gathering putrescence and burning it in a ghost flame, because even the remains of tainted flesh should be given equal treatment. Leather headband worn by Highland warriors, made of woven leather. The white favor represents their home settlement. Highland warriors are known to be hunters of bears. To them, there is no act more glorious than the subjugation of a savage beast. Gravebird's black quill armor, stone armor with a tinge of green, one of a set of armor pieces cast in the image of the gravebird, featuring a cape of black deathbird feathers. It enhances jumping attacks. Gravebirds are ancient golems, created to guard the spirit graves built where all manners of death ultimately drift. Sorcerer manchets. Manchets worn by Rylukaria's magic scholars, made by wrapping a simple cloth around the forearms. Duelist greaves. Greaves encircled by bronze snakes, worn by gladiators who were driven from the Colosseum. The wearer becomes a slightly easier target for foes. The snake is viewed as a traitor to the Erdtree, and the audience delighted in seeing these bronze effigies beaten and battered. Putrescent's cleaver, a weapon wielded by the Putrescent Knight, a great cleaver of hardened putrescence affixed to an arch fashioned from human bones, gains power from the wielder's arcane attribute. Dancing Sage of Flame. Enthralled by the beauty of Mesmer's flame, she forsook her prestigious family in Renault to become one of Mesmer's personal knights. But her passion as a dancer remains, as she embodies a dancing flame. Salza's Hood. Hood of Salza, Sage of the Fire Knights. A prodigious amount of cloth wound around it, giving the impression of a greatly swollen head, and wearing it increases intelligence. A disciple of the elder Wago, he refused to burn down an old ruin at the risk of his own life. Dancer's dress. Bright red dress of the Renault dancer. of Renault is one of burning passion, and the most passionate of dancers never allow their fiery dance to end, losing even their names as they dance on. To see the passion fade is to see the dancer's flame extinguished. Mesmer's gauntlets, black gauntlets of Mesmer the Impaler. On his mother's wishes, Mesmer made himself a symbol of fear, undertaking the cleansing crusade she desired. Direct thy maledictions, thine ire, and thy grief towards me alone. Freya's graves, graves of Redmane Freya, member of General Radon's most distinguished knights. After witnessing Freya's valor as a gladiator in his youth, Radon invited her to join the ranks of his most trusted warriors. Firespark Perfume Bottle. Perfume Bottle remade into a weapon by perfumers of the realm of shadow. Attacks release a perfumed powder, producing sparks of fire. The crusade was a violent purge, and the perfumers were not called there to heal. The gardener, the solitary gardener who has nearly forgotten his humanity after communing with only plants for so long. Be wary, for he has little allegiance to living things, not when they make such nutritious fertilizer for his flowers. Dane's hat, the sun-faded and lightly soiled hat of dry-leaf Dane. Worn low over the eyes, it obscures the wearer's vision. Meeting the gaze of another can overcome the senses, often leading to the downfall of those who would walk with the noble and solitary seeker's path. Guardian garb, full bloom, engraved golden garb, worn by the guardians of the minor Erdtrees, raises the HP recovery effect of the flask of crimson tears, but greatly lowers fire damage negation. It is said that blood-red flowers blooming on their backs marks the senescence of their ancient pact. Perhaps the guardians are part tree already. Other arm wraps worn by Highland warriors, made of sturdy leather and fastened with winding straps. Highland warriors are known to be hunters of bears. To them, there is no act more glorious than the subjugation of a savage beast. Dry-leaf cuissards, sun-faded and lightly soiled travel attire worn by clergymen, boots made of sturdy leather. Shadow sunflower blossom, the head of a monstrous shadow sunflower, manifestation of the shadow tree. Then again, it might just be a flower wielded as a weapon, much like the shadow tree itself in appearance. A second stalk winds tightly around the first. Frenzied Phoenix. In his search for divinity, this divine bird warrior encountered an outer god and was burned in frenzied flame. But from the ashes he rose like a phoenix with a new purpose. Everything will be burned to nothing. Divine bird helm, a helm of tangled horn attached to a divine bird mask, allowing the wearer to invoke divinity. Worn by divine bird warriors, the very first of all horned warriors. Divine invocation heightens the power of divine bird feathers alongside strength and dexterity, but reduces the restorative effect of drinking from a flask of sacred tears. Focus is also troubled by wearing this helm. Ascetic's loincloth, attire of the tower's ascetics, embodying their commitment to an austere existence of strict self-control in order to ascend from their mortal flesh into tutelary deities of the land. They heighten their spirituality through severe ascetic training. Young Lion's gauntlets. Golden gauntlets worn by Radon in his younger years, when Melania, Blade of Mykola, let the wrought flower blossom in Haeonia. Radon heard a murmur in his ear. Mykola awaits thee, O promised consort. Divine bird warrior greaves. Graves of divine bird warriors, very first of all horned warriors, made from a golden metal. The great sharp talons increase the force generated by kicks. Great sword of damnation. Golden great sword that once pierced the body of Mitra, master of the Mends, used by the Hornsent in the execution of a damnation like no other. The barbs that pierced the victim from within wind gently around the blade. Nanaya's torch. A torch made by attaching a dying flame of frenzy to a small spinal column in a distant land, in an age long past, was born a man who failed to become the lord of frenzied flame. All that remains of him is cradled gently by Nanaya. Lamenting Huntress. The legends of Ra are as ancient as verdigris. Sprites dancing amidst the ruins, golems that guarded secrets, and a lone huntress, the last of her people. It is said that when the moon reaches its zenith, her wailing lamentations can be heard, echoing across the lands. Pelt of Relva. The pelt of Relva, the great red bear, worn upon the head without modification, enhances incantations of what is jokingly called bear communion. This untreated hide, one of a bloody bout is just the thing to make a wild bear out of a warrior. Teolie's garb, the dark attire of those who wield poison in secret. Countless needles are sewn into the exterior for a talismanic effect. Warrior gauntlets, gauntlets of a nomadic warrior crafted from sturdy leather. Mesmer soldier graves, graves worn by soldiers who serve Mesmer the Impaler, rusted and crusted in filth from fighting in unending war. Egon's great bow, weapon of Egon, the broken drink warrior, a great bow fashioned from 2 dragon bones, bound with coarse rope, covered in gashes left by claws, imbued with Egon's obsession, enhancing the power of Egon's harpoon. Lamenting visage, a stone lantern carved to resemble a lamenting human head, the eyes vacantly beaming out light, can be raised up when equipped in the left hand, illuminating more of the surrounding area. The unusual expression somehow imparts a sense of contentment, the languid ease of one who needs no sight. Abyssal Serpent Knight, a former Drake Knight taken in the jaws of the base serpent when Mesmer released it by destroying the grace America granted him. To devour and destroy, this is the mandate an Abyssal Serpent Knight shall follow. Mesmer's helm, black helm of Mesmer the Impaler, crowned with 2 intertwined winged serpents, slightly increases incantations of Mesmer's flame as well as Fire Knight skills. The winged snakes were Mesmer's constant companions. They were there when the base serpent was sealed away behind his eye. They were there through his eternity of suffering. They will accompany him yet in his hideous new form, born when he destroyed the grace granted by his mother. They have accepted his fate as much as he. Rakshasa armor, armor of Rakshasa, soaked in the spurting blood of her victims, tatters of ragged cloth, jut out haphazardly, as if her lust for carnage threatens to break free. Increases damage dealt to foes, but greatly increases damage taken by the wearer. Cut down and devour. Only those who repeat the cycle without rest can truly subvert the self and become Rakshasa. Drake Knight gauntlets, black iron gauntlets worn by Drake Knights, features the spoils of a dragon catch as an emblem of pride, as both dragon hunter and partaker of communion. From birth, Drake Knights speak not a word, they spend their lives pursuing the strength of dragons for its sublime beauty and inspiration of awe. Fire Knight Graves. Graves of the Fire Knights under Mesmer the Impaler's personal command. Each and every knight hailed from a renowned family of the Erdtree's upper echelons, but were shunned and chased from their homes after pledging allegiance to Mesmer as their master. Dragon Hunter's Great Katana. Great Katana with spines of gravel stone along its blade, wielded by the ancient dragon man of the Dragon's Pit as an anti-dragon effect. Formerly a dragon communion warrior, the ancient dragon man was once arbiter of those worthy to devour the dreaded one. Spirit Tuner of Shadows. A shadow militiaman who has discovered the practice of spirit communion. Vulgar militia are surrounded by the dead on the fresh battlefields they inhabit. What better place to find spirits in need of tuning? Shadow Militiaman Helm. Helm as dark as shadow, worn by vulgar militiamen. Freshly singed battlegrounds effusing with the stench of the dead. Forbidden lands that will be excised from the memory of history. What better place than the realms of shadow then for such an army? Ansbach's attire. Attire of Sir Ansbach, the great embroidered crest of the pureblood knights, has now all but faded away, slightly enhances blood oath and dynastic skills. Ansbach understood that keeping his oath to his old master was not an act of logic, nor would it bear any justice, but it was for these very reasons he was unable to let go. High Priest Gloves. Gloves of Count Emir, High Priest, soft and well-tailored. Ansbach's Boots. Boots of Sir Ansbach, black leather adorned with gold embroidery, slightly enhances blood oath and dynastic skills. Spirit Sword. Sharp blade sculpted into a twisted shape. A sword that has seen many years of use in the gravesite, said to serve as a medium for communion with spirits. Shield of Night. A shield awarded to sword hands of night, cast in bottomless black from which no light can escape. The outer surface is only semi-corporeal, providing reliable defense against attacks that are not physical in nature. Divine Beast Revenger. A divine beast warrior who wears shackles in solidarity with the Lion Guardians, who are believed to be descendants of divine beasts. They have been subjugated in the lands between and used as weapons of war. This warrior seeks revenge on their behalf Divine Beast Helm. A helm of tangled horn attached to a divine beast mask, allowing the wearer to invoke divinity, worn by divine beast warriors, the chosen of the horned warriors. Divine Invocation heightens the intensity of the storm alongside strength and dexterity, but reduces the restorative effects of drinking from a flask of sacred tears. Focus is also troubled by wearing this helm. Braided cord robe. Ragged black cloth overlaid with braided cord. Attire of vengeance-seeking horn scent. The braided cord ties together the vow of the revenger with the victim's grudges. It must never come undone. Enhances both watchful spirits and the vengeful spirits summoned by horned bears. Zamor bracelets. Bracelets worn by knights of Zamor, hailed as heroes in the war against the giants. These long-lived warriors, clad in biting, freezing winds, are said to have been the mortal enemies of the fire giants since time immemorial. Leather like wraps worn by Highland warriors, made of sturdy leather and fastened with winding straps. The addition of animal pelt keeps the wearer warm. Dane's footwork, a technique for hand-to-hand combat without the aid of a weapon. This martial art focuses on kicking techniques. This kick-based martial art is unique to Dane, a dry-leaf and sworn ally of Leda. He acquired these skills by training with the aid of a waterfall, letting the water beat his body and throwing himself into its basin. Mushroom Forager. He may be found scavenging throughout the woods outside of the Black Keep. He has divested himself of worldly things and become one with the fungi and the soil. Egon's Helm. Helm of the broken Drake warrior Egon, from a set of armor comprised of a miscellany of parts. This tattered protective wear is shaped like a bugle, the poor scavenger of battlefields found honor through dragon communion. Gold mask rags. Worn rags that just barely cover the body. Lord Gold Mask felt no draw to the vain excess of clothing. What use is finery to one who seeks greater brilliance? Mushroom arms. Mushrooms found growing all over the body. These overgrown mushrooms have colonized the arm. To those enraptured by the scarlet rod, there are holy vestments that root one to the earth. Fur leggings. Leggings fashioned from bristly belts, worn by ancestral follower warriors. The ancestral followers keep their distance from the Erdtree awaiting new buds. They're certain to sprout from the very flesh, and indeed their souls. Smith script dagger. Dagger engraved with a smith script. Reduced mass enhances the effects of the smithing arts, allowing this weapon to function as a throwing dagger for all attacks. Once thrown, the dagger instantly reappears in the wielder's hand. Tooth whip. Whip bestrewn with rotting, misshapen teeth, filthy and seething with disease. The teeth are embedded in the whip and dose the victim with deadly poison upon each strike. As the wounds ripen, they grow inflamed and ooze pus. The flesh of the shamans was said to melt harmoniously with others. Mad Imp. Was he a man, an albinoric, or just a puppet? Not even he can remember anymore. All he knows is the torment enacted by Mesmer soldiers, which drove him to madness. Imp head lion. Head covering made from the largely unaltered head of an impish golem, resembling a lion in appearance. Life force faintly clings to it. Marionette soldier armor. Armor of metal bands arranged in a lattice, worn by marionette soldiers, crafted to serve the sorcerers. The construction of this armor is remarkably crude, now rusted over and severely dented. For a doll, the only thing that matters is that it does not break. Gaius's greaves. Black iron greaves made for Commander Gaius. A cruel joke, for he could not wear them. Riding atop the boar, he called his other half. Gaius was in fact a warrior of albinoric extraction. Serpent flail. A flail with coiled snakes for bludgeoning heads. Fire roars within the snake's body, inflicting horrible burns. Some of Mesmer's army used these flails to burn hordes and to brand them with agony and fear. Matting hand. A glove stitched together from the flayed skin of the victims of a butcherous bloodbath. The flake's target with madness raises attack power when madness is triggered in the vicinity. Forged of an unending black impulse toward revenge, fostered in those who were hunted down as heretics by their own brethren. These are the weapons of the utterly downtrodden. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for watching